So if you want to learn some extra things that Adobe Generator can do, watch this video. We'll cover how you can generate images using a clipping mask, how you can put your images out into folders that you define, and then also how you can set up a layer that has defaults that you want to apply to multiple images. So let's first make a clipping mask. Right now I have an image right here on this layer named smaller, and to make a clipping mask, if you've never done this before, essentially what you want is a layer right underneath the image that you want to clip. So I'll go one image below, click down here to create a new icon, and on here a clip can be just about anything. I'll make my clip from just a shape. So I'll grab the rectangle tool up here on the top. I have three choices. I'll select shape. I'll click on the fill, just make that black, and then go down here and draw out the clip. Don't need this, so I'll close it up. So this is going to be, it's actually, you use kind of the opposite terminology. The clip is really a revealer, and you'll see what I mean here. So this is where, in fact, I'll just name this clip, and then I'm going to go to the image that's above it that I want to be clipped. I will right click on it and I will select create clipping mask. So what happens is the only part of that image that goes inside of the clip is revealed. And if I take the move tool and move this image around, you can see that only what's inside of here will show. So if I wanted to also clip some additional items, and what I'll do is I'll just make two layers right above this image and just draw something on them. This layer I just created called brush, I'll take the brush tool and I'll just pick a color, say like red, and do a little painting with red. So I'll click in there, click in here, click OK. And now keep in mind that whatever I create on this layer I can move, but since it's going to be clipped, if I don't put any of it inside or overlapping into the clip like I'm doing now, it can be pretty hard to select later. So I would suggest that you make your items so that you can indeed uh, get at them. So in other words, do have them go into the clipped area a little bit. And then on this one called square, I'll just select it. I will take the rectangular marquee and I'll just draw out an elongated shape. And let's change this color a little bit. And to fill this with the foreground color, I will Option Delete and then Command D to undo that marquee around it. And then I'll click on both of these layers. I will right click and I will select Create Clipping Mask. So now I have three things pointing down to this clip. And I can click on any one of these, grab the Move tool. I'll turn Auto Select off so that I have to actually click on the layer. So right now I'm on the brush layer selected. So if I click and drag, I move that brush around. If I click and drag with the square, then I can move that. And I could reorder these layers in here. So if I always wanted the image to be on top, I can do that. And then, so the way this works with Generator is you go to the clip itself and give that one of the many naming conventions that we talked about. So in this case, I'll just call this, for lack of a better thing, we'll just call it image12.jpg, hit return. And so you see what we get for image 12 is just what was inside of that masked area, nothing else. So everything is clipped off outside of that area. These three items are revealed where they're inside that area, and it includes the color that I gave the clip. Typically you just would most likely fill this whole area with images. So that's yet another option that you have inside of Photoshop using Generator. Now let's talk about how you make folders. And just like the program recognizes the fact that you put a .jpeg and it makes a JPEG, it recognizes folder conventions as well. Here are some examples of ways you might name folders. So this right here would be the name of your folder, and the way that you know that you're telling the program to do that is it's what's prior to this /. So right here you would have a file named logo.jpg inside of a folder named logos. Here I'm showing you that you can use a comma separator and actually generate a file called JPEG inside of a folder called bitmap, or a file named logo.jpg inside of a folder called bitmap. Here you have logo.svg inside of a folder called vector, and here you're actually going 2 folders deep. So let's go ahead and take a look at these examples in Generator. So right now we can see that inside of our main folder we just have images, no folders. So we'll go back into Photoshop and let's pretend that we want to put these 2 images in a folder called large for the large images. So all we're going to do is just go over to these 2 and type the word large, a /, and then we'll do the same thing here. And we should be able to go back here and see that we have now a folder called large, and when we swing that open we can see that we have our left and our right images inside of there. Okay, for this example, let's say that we want our logo, which is this layer right here. Actually, it's a group combined of 2 layers, but we can still use the same naming conventions on a folder. So we have bitmap /, so that's going to be the name of one folder, and that's going to have our PNG file of the logo. Then we have vector, which is going to be our next folder, and it's going to contain the SVG version of that. So if we go out to our files, we can see that we have a folder named bitmap with the PNG, folder named vector with the SVG. And the reason to use folders is obviously to clean things up. So if we say, well, let's get all of our bitmap images in one place, but I do still want these defined as large inside of there, then what I can do is come over here and just add bitmap in front of large. So I've already done it for the right image. Let's go ahead and do it for the left image. So bitmap /, and then if we go and hit enter and check these out, you can see that it's cleaned that up, and now inside a bitmap we have the logo, but we also have the folder called large that contains the left and the right. So that was our example that I just showed using folders inside of folders, and as this would show right here, you would be making 2 folders inside of folders with images. In fact, what I would probably suggest you do at this point is maybe freeze frame this and take a screenshot right here, because this is really a shortcut, this and what's on my next page, of everything you can do in the program as far as the naming conventions go. And then that would include what we just learned about right there. Last topic with Generator is defaults. You create a layer and name it default. So as soon as you create a layer, you don't even put anything on this layer, but you just start with the word default, and then after the word default you could do something like this. So let's look at this example. It should generate every image at 50% size unless there's another percentage specified in front of it. So if I look inside of my folder right now for the left and the right image, I can see that they're both 400 pixels wide. If we go back in, create our default And it makes sense to put it up near the top, and if you're using artboards, it should be the first layer up underneath the artboard. So we call that default, and as long as I spelled that right, then I put in 50%. Go ahead, hit return. Go back in here. Let's open up bitmap, large, left, and now it's 200. And if we want to overwrite that for any particular image, all we need to do is put the percentage that we want in front of the name. It ignores the default and then generates whatever that percentage was. So in this case, it'll just keep this image now. Let's see, this is the right one, so that'll be at full size. So if we go back to the folder and we look inside, we'll see that the left was made half size, only 200 wide, but the right is 400 wide. If I come up to my default and I put after 50% small forward slash, that's our folder convention. So then what it does is it puts everything inside of a folder called small, and the way you could make that work even better is if you did one where you had the images at the regular size. So I'll put a comma and then I'll put, say, medium and a forward slash, hit return, and now we have our small images and our medium or regular size images. So that could be very handy for working with a developer and dishing out multiple size images. You can also append your file name, adding, say, something like this, and notice the placement of it. It's right after the folder. So every image inside of this folder would get this added to the end, well, right between the file name and the extension. It's typically handy to put an underscore or a hyphen in front of it. I would stick with the underscore for web development, although most sites don't mind this so much anymore. Um, so yeah, let's look at an example of that. We'll go up to Photoshop, and then right here, what I added is at half size. Let me just let you see all that. And so now if we go into our folder, you can see that every one of these images inside of the small folder, whether it's inside of another folder or not, has whatever name we gave it, followed by an underscore, then at half size. And you might even realize after doing that that, hey, I no longer need the folders. So you could go back in, get rid of the folder, and now all of those images will be located here. Now if they do have folders, they'll be inside of their folders again. But anyway, you get the idea. With enough experimenting in here, you could develop a very nice system. So let me just bring you back here for the end of the video so you can take a screenshot of this if you want. If you took one earlier, you may want to redo it because I think I was missing this forward slash after medium here and here.